I hope you guys are having a wonderful day. I had a student yesterday ask me about long nails, and she was a little confused about a few things. So what I'm going to do is, with all the stuff that we've been covering on fundamentals, I'm going to build a longer nail, and then I'm gonna go through the whole entire process of how I start from the cuticle and work all the way towards the free edge. Appreciate that. This is gonna give you a really good insight on if you're going to be either sculpting or working on a tip. This will give you a really good idea on how to actually build the right structure to something that's long. So I want to be able to go through the fundamentals, break this down, and then, I think for those of you guys that are struggling with building building a nail with length, this is really going to, I think it's going to just kind of open up that moment for you. So let's get right to this. All right, so what I've done is I've already cut the tip, brought it down to a certain length, and then what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna go through prep real fast. I wanna use arbor bands in order, I wanna be able to use a medium arbor band to remove shine from the surface of the nail. So I'm gonna be working at 3,000 RPMs, and all I wanna be able to do is gently tickle away the shine from corner to corner, right? And then so once I'm done doing that, you have an option of either using a manicure brush or some lint-free wipes. What I usually do is come through and then use the manicure brush to dust off all of the dust, the oils, and then I could use a lint-free wipe to just come through. You also have the option of coming through with just a little bit of swipe on the surface and kind of cleaning this. This is going to kind of give it a really deep clean. But that's what's going to kind of balance the pH level, right? It's going to set it up. It's going to dry out the surface. And then what you're going to be able to do is use protein bond all the way through, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and use one of the new powders in the line. We'll use Cover Flamingo to be able to build this out. If I'm going long, what I like to do is build the free edge first. Okay, so we'll build it as long as the form. We'll go all the way to the very, very end. All right, I mean, in the end, there's not a lot of people that are going to be wearing nails. I mean, most of the people I know that wear really, really long nails are nail techs. Don't get me wrong, there's a lot of people out there that like them, but the majority of people like to wear active length. So if I go ahead and I put my form onto the nail, what I'm going to do is I need to focus my attention. I try to line, right? Like I don't use the lines in the form. The only thing I'll line it up is I'll use the center line to try to get it centered. And then what I need to do is I need to really focus on trying to keep it within the parameters, right? I need to keep it within the parameter of the growth channels. I'm not going to be focusing on the actual lines on the form itself, okay? And what I want to be able to do is I'm going to build the length all the way out to about right there. All right, so let's go ahead and get a little bit of Cover Flamingo. Remember, going over fundamentals, I need to be able to work with a consistency that's not going to run all over the place. So remember, I have to drain it, right? So if I'm working on the tip of the nail, if I submerge my brush and I go ahead and I pick up a nice bead, then what I want to be able to do is drain it onto my towel. That way when I go ahead and I set it down on top of the form, it's not going to get away from me. So at this point, what I usually will do is I'm trying to keep it within the growth channels, but based on length, I'll just kind of stretch it out to the length that I need, and then I'll walk it kind of up to the corners. Notice I'm using the body of my brush to walk it from the top of the acrylic. I'm not sliding this up, right? So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna bring this all the way to the very, very edge of the form, try to keep some really, really long nail, try to make a really long free edge. This is going to give me an idea of how much upper arch I'm going to be able to create. So for those of you guys that can't visualize it, doing it in one, this is going to set you up so that when you are sculpting, right, you can see the length that I've already built this out to, all the way to the end. And you can see, because my form is already pinched so much, it's going to give me a lot of C-curve right off of the bat. Okay, so it's not gonna run, but you'll notice that if I wanna make adjustments, like if I need to slide my side up, there's still enough workability in the acrylic where if I need to make some slight adjustments, I'm going to be able to do that right away. Okay, so the reason why I start at the cuticle area is because this is going to give me, like, my whole focus is trying to get it tight around the perimeter of the nail. And then if you're looking at the side profile, my upper arch has to start almost halfway through the natural nail. It's not going to start here, it's going to be way back here. Right, and I have to build this high enough so that it's going to be able to support the length that I actually built out. So I need to get a large enough purl, and as it starts to run down, I need a majority of the product to kind of to stop running, well, at least a bulk of the product to stop running around halfway. So I'm gonna go ahead and get a really nice bead. I need a consistency that's going to flow, so bounce, 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 bounce. And then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and wait, and then as I set this down to the back end, you're going to notice that I'm able to press out the perimeter, right, as it starts to run. So once it gets down to this point, I'm holding my sides because I know at this point, right, it's starting to run towards the free edge. I'll pull the front. The bulk of the product, as you can see here, what I want to be able to do, I'm going to show you from the side profile. I'll use the body of my brush to kind of push it back, right, from the front end. You see that? Right, so the cuticle area is finished and my sides are tight, and what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to keep a majority of the product up through the upper arch. Right, I'm trying to keep everything here. I don't want to brush it flat. If I start to brush it flat, what ends up happening is I lose that curve, right, from the sides and around the cuticle area. And as it starts to set, right, as it starts to set, like, my focus is just kind of sliding it up here in the sides, and then I'm using like this part of my brush in the front of the nail to just kind of give it a little bit of pressure as I am brushing it through. It doesn't have to be absolutely smooth and perfect, right? You can see that everything is within, again, the tip. It's within the tip, and that's what I want. So I need to start off where I left off, right? So my next bead is going to be almost in between this level right here and the extension, okay? So what I'm going to do is, again, I'm going to get a large enough bead, right, because I need to add a little bit of volume. I'm going to bounce, bounce, bounce. I'm going to get a nice bead. I'm going to set it in between. I'm going to brush it almost up into that area, and then you're going to notice the products start to move down towards the tip. Notice I wipe my brush, and then I'm using, right, a lot of that excess as I'm walking down towards the front. The angle of my brush, look at this, right? You can see So as you can see, I'm using a lot of pressure from almost the base of my brush as I am walking down. If I'm not able to complete, right, the extension, I'm adding the volume that I need. Like this area right here, I could just kind of lightly feather that. That way it makes it easier to smooth out. I'm not going to try to force everything, but you can see how I'm really using this part of my brush and it's angled this way. When I'm in the cuticle area working down, my brush is like this. As I start working down this way, the base of my brush ends up becoming like this as I am working it through. And you can see I'm actually contouring. Notice how I'm actually holding my hand, right? Notice I'm actually holding my hand. I'm balancing while I'm working, right? So making sure that I have everything perfect all the way through. And then the last part is going to be that very, very tip, right? That very, very tip. So I could take a small bead here, right? You can see that. You can see from the side profile, oops, I just dropped it. So I'm gonna show you guys from the side profile. So if I get a small bead, right, I can even drain this because I'm adding it on top of acrylic. But you're gonna notice if I set my brush backwards, right, look at this. So I could set this down and then I could feather this, right? Feather this back, and then it leaves enough product on the front end where all I have to do is use the body of my brush to work it side to side. And that's how I'm going to be able to build a nail that requires the least amount of filing all the way through, right? That's what we want to be able to, that's how we want to be able to do. Now, again, if you are like, you know, I don't have enough product, look, you have to remember that if you take acrylic and you set it down to an area where you think you need it, take a look at this. So if I set it down and I blend it back, notice I'm not going to blend it from the back. You see the very, very front of the bead? I'll just lightly pull from the front. So it blends it tight from the top, it blends it tight from the bottom, and then what you're left with is using the body of your brush to just kind of work it from side to side, so that everything is absolutely perfect. And then as it starts to set, you could go ahead and start working it from side to side to make it absolutely perfect. This color is, dude, this color is dope, man. So this is Cover Flamingo. This is one of the new powders that we just launched this weekend. A lot of beginners make the mistake when they do a tip or glue a tip or start from the tip, is that you end up building the front way too thick. So if you start from the front and work towards the back, you have to remember that if you start from the front and you work towards the back, you're always brushing towards the front of the nail. So the problem with that is that when you get to the cuticle area, you can get the cuticle area tight, but the free edge ends up becoming way too bulky. If you start from the cuticle area and you allow the product to self-level, let the product run. Like once it runs to the back, dude, you don't have to mess with the back. You just have to touch it. So as it starts running down the sides, right here, I'll show you. Like, oops. What did I just do? Okay, sorry. Let me just go ahead and, okay, so you'll notice, I just messed up on that, sorry about that. You'll know, so here, right, if I am working around this area, right? So this area right here, when I set this down, everything is going to run tight to the back end. As the product starts moving down this way and it starts running, most gravity is going to pull it down towards the tip of the nail. But as it starts to run here, all you have to do is pick it up. You don't have to try to force it in. Just pick it up to the sides. And then what you'll notice is that it will form perfect toward the edges. That's what you want to be able to accomplish. That's I feel that a lot of beginners, when they're not doing the cuticle right, they literally they struggle with that. All right, so this is actually starting to set. Let me just go ahead and take this off right? You can already see that the C curve is going to be, if I have a little bit of acrylic, the best part about this, like if I have a little bit of acrylic hanging off the edge, which I do, you could always take it just like a toenail clipper and just snap that off. There's no reason for you to try to file. You could take a straight edge toenail clipper. You'd be surprised at the level of like perfection you'll be able to make, especially before the product dries out, so that you don't have to overfile the edges, right? But I mean, if you're done with 10 nails, that's what's going to happen. So at this point, what we want to be able to do is we want to be able to take our hand file. I'm going to take a brand new file. You have to take your edges down. So for those of you guys that got new files this weekend, you guys are filing on your trainers. That's great. If you're filing on yourself, take your edges down so that you don't cut yourself or your client. You cannot hold your hand files like this. This is not how you hold your hand files. You have to hold your hand files like this. Not like this, like this. You need to see this, okay? So this way, when you'll notice that if I'm holding it like this, I could put pressure on the side with my finger, right? See that? And I'm looking only at the blue edge. On this side, I could put pressure with my thumb, and I can file, and I can keep it straight. You can see how I have contact on both sides. You can see that my dust marks go all the way from the very, very tip of the nail all the way to the very, very back of the nail. That means my file had contact all the way through. You see that? All the way through. Now, this is the thing, right? When you are filing perimeter, you have to remember that it's 5 points of filing. So 1, 2, and then I can straighten out the front 3, right? And then from the lower arch here, it has to run parallel to the finger. Don't just stick it into the corner and start filing it. You'll notice that I'm going to start from the lowest point, right? And as I file up and into the corner, I'm going to be able to build razor sharp lower arches. Look how flippin' perfect that is. Dude, you want to build it and shape it so it looks like it belongs on the cover of a magazine. All right, so here on this side, you can see that if I'm trying to get this straight to the lower arch, what I'll do is I normally like to turn my client's hand to the side. So same thing, right? If I'm working on the practice hands, I want to be able to turn to the side. And you'll notice that I'm going to line it parallel to the finger from the lowest point and then file into the edge. So as I'm filing and sawing all the way, it's coming into the side. So what that looks like from this point is if I'm starting from that lowest point here and I'm filing up, you notice I'm keeping pressure with my thumb on her finger. And then as I am filing up and then in, my file will eventually meet that lower arch. And then what I'm going to be able to build is absolute perfection. And that's what we want to be able to do. That's how you're going to get your lower arches absolutely razor sharp straight. Okay, so once that is filed and shaped and ready to go, then what we want to be able to do is we want to be able to use our bits. For those of you guys that got bits this weekend, my favorite bit that I always like to work with is the young nails, the safety bit. So, I'm sorry. I'm going to go ahead and take this. I'm going to twist it so you guys can see the arrows. Twist it left to unlock. It has to click. That comes out. I'm going to put this to here. You see where the line starts? I'm going to get it right up to that line because I have long nails. Twist it till it clicks to the arrows face each other. I'm going to run my electric file around 11,000 RPMs. I'm right-handed, so I'm going to be working in forward. I'm going to be using an overgrip position. I'm going to be starting from the top, and you're going to notice I don't really have that much upper arch to file. Touch, right here, touch that, and then I'm going to be able to file all the way through, right? You're going to be able to see how I'm going to be able to shape that nice arch all the way through. Most of the weight you can see is going to be back here. When I'm filing the C curve, I'm filing in one, you can see this is perfect view. Look at this. You can see all the thickness on the side. So I'm not gonna go side to side, man. It's a sucker technique. What you wanna be able to do is use the barrel and file in one direction. Look at this. I'm using zone 3, which is the bottom of the barrel, and I'm filing towards myself. Look how nice and tight I'm able to get that. I'm going to do the same thing on this side. I don't really have to do that much here. I'm going to use zone 1 of the barrel. I'm going to file in one direction all the way through. Bro, look at that. Look at that. Yeah. Like you could see how tight that ends up getting. So then around the cuticle area, I'm not going to be going side to side. I'm going to be going in one direction. One direction. One direction. And then once I'm done removing most of the bulk around the cuticle area, then I'm going to be using my hand file, right, to do all my detail work. I like to go around the perimeter of the nail. So general rule of thumb, if you take your fingernail and you run it around the perimeter of the nail, if you don't have ledges, it's not going to lift. 3 things we talked about: preparation, application, finishing. All 3 have to be tight so that you don't have lifting, right? There's no magic, right? Now, this is magic for sure, but that's not going to guarantee. That's going to give you like 90%. The other 10% is going to be, I would say I'd say 85, man, because your application is important and your finishing is really important. You have to have a tight perimeter. But notice as I'm filing this, I'm literally focusing my attention. Look at my file. I'm holding my hand file like this as I come down the side, right? And you can see my scratch marks are all on one side coming down. Well, the same thing on the opposite side, but I'm not going to be doing this. I'm not going to be picking at it. If I'm picking at it, it's like I'm petting it. I don't want to pet the surface. It's going to take forever. I want to be able to put my hand file, contact going up, let the hand file fall, contact. So this is the way. You can see this is the way. For all you Mandalorian fans, this is the way. All right. As I'm coming through, right, and I'm filing everything tight, I don't really have to do that much filing. Last but not least, I'm going to be looking, bro. You know, it's my favorite word, bro. Okay. I mean, it's going to come out, the length is going to come out tight. See my sidewalls, and then what I like to do is I like to look down the perimeter of the nail to make sure that everything is going to be absolutely flawless from side to side. That's how you're going to be able to build the length that you want. One of the things that I do when I am done, right, is, that's right, bro, I'm going to take... that's why I miss trade shows. Hopefully next year, man, they'll be ready to rock and roll. I'm going to take protein bond around the edges and then through the nail. And then what I want to be able to do is use the new, man, once you guys get a hold of this stuff, dude, the new finish is so ridiculous. I mean, yeah, for those of you guys that have the old one, like, that's one thing, but the reformulation is crazy. You're gonna absolutely love how it works. Really excited about, right, this, but boom, right? That's how you're going to be able to get the length that you need, okay? All right. And that's, again, at the end of it, that's what I wanted to be able to get to you. Sorry, I'm trying to zoom out so that you guys can see. You can see that it doesn't pull, it doesn't do anything. It's super awesome. It's the shiniest stuff we've ever manufactured. Really excited about it. You guys will be getting that soon. I'm going to go ahead and get this inside the light. But what I want to be able to say, what I want to be able to say is that for those of you guys that struggle with length, this episode today will kind of break it down. you have to start from the cuticle and you have to work towards the free edge. You have to break it into sections. Don't just you can't build a long nail and start from the cuticle area. Like, look, I could do it in one. I know how to balance it and come through. But for those of you guys that are starting and you're learning, you have to break it into steps, right? Someone was like asking me yesterday if they should use like a 3-ball method. Well, yeah, I mean, if you're using a 3-ball method, that as long as you're using one of the balls for the cuticle area, I'm cool with that. If you have to use 3 pearls for the cuticle area, I'm not cool with that. 1. And then as it starts to come down, you can look from the side profile. This is gonna give you guys a really good understanding on how to structure it from back to front. If you guys have questions, hit me up every day. I'm bringing it to you, sharing all my secrets. There's nothing to hide. It's all, that's the value of Young Nails, is I'm going to give it to you for free every day. Thank you guys. I love you much. Peace.